Well, the literary world continues to pay tribute to the Nobel Prize-winning author Nadine Gordimer, who recently passed away. It was on Sunday, as a matter of fact. Arise News book editor Marva Allen shares some of her thoughts. Hey, Marva, it's good to see you.
Wonderful.
Lost a giant in the literary world.
Another giant. Boy, this has been a year, hasn't it? So many wonderful literary people have passed on. But, you know, we have to acknowledge them. And Gordimer was a very prolific writer, very involved in the civil rights. In the apartheid, and was a good friend of Nelson Mandela, also won the Nobel Prize for Literature, and she was not formally trained, you know, so we just want to acknowledge that she's there. She has a body of work that people should become familiar with.
Yes, yes, and you know, and very often when these great legends pass away, they enjoy a resurgence in interest and popularity.
They certainly do. They certainly do.
Yeah, hopefully that will happen with her.
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about the books that you've brought with this. First, Blood Feud.
Blood Feud, and what a feud!
Which sounds like a novel, but it's not.
It actually reads like a novel, and you know, I mean, obviously this is hearsay, but you know, Edward Klein has been a political writer for the New York Times. He has written many books, including the books on the Kennedys and so on. So he has his sources. And this is a book that's talking about the feud between the Obamas and the Clintons. And the feud, part of that feud, also with Oprah and the Obamas. And so it opens with Hillary declaring that she's going to have a presidential library as she's lunching with all her friends from Wesleyan. So obviously giving a clue to the fact that she is going to run, and you know, her big concern is her wayward husband, you know, and how she would rein him in and kick him out if he didn't do right, you know. So it's really very gossipy, but it's so interesting.
I was going to say it sounds quite salacious.
It sounds quite salacious.
But it's important. We have to mention, you know, Ed Klein has been criticized by a number of people by having very thin sources.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, you know, talking about whether the president and Martha's Vineyard and his wife slept in the same bed, you know, from the housekeepers and so on and so forth. And, you know, but the one that was interesting to me was the backdoor deals that happen when people are negotiating these powers. So, you know, for Stomping in 2012, what was promised to Clinton, what was promised to Oprah, and why she didn't stop.
Well, speaking of that, I don't know if I've been living under a rock, but I didn't know there was a feud between them, if in fact there is.
If in fact there is, you know, could be propaganda, but it's in the book, right? So if it's in the book, it has to be true. You know, the story goes that as she was building OWN, and she would stomp for the president, she would get unprecedented access to the White House. And from that, she could build these exclusive stories, you know, about and help to put her station on the map. And apparently Michelle didn't allow it. You know, so there are all of those things. So if you want a little bit of inside gossip on what goes on in the power people, here it is.
Yet to be determined whether it's yet to be determined whether it's fact or fiction.
Fact or fiction.
Fun reading nonetheless.
Fun reading nonetheless.
Okay, so let's move on. The Signature of All Things.
We know this author, the very, very famous now Elizabeth Gilbert, who wrote Eat, Pray, Love, you know, movie made, soundtracks made, and this is her third or fourth book, I believe, and this is set in the Age of Enlightenment, which means the 18th century or so, and it is something I enjoyed because it was scientific, you know, and it's about a botanist, a young guy, an English guy who was very poor, you know, grew up with a famous botanist, and became a botanist and became a very rich man in South America selling quinine, you know, and so his daughter Alma is also a brainiac, also a scientist, and she meets this guy who's complete worldview. So it's special creation versus evolution. So she is evolution, and he is special creation. He believes in mystery, he believes in divine, he believes in all of those things, and how they navigate this relationship together. Very interesting, very unusual, you know, but she did a lot of research.
Weighty stuff for a novel.
It's very weighty, but you know, I mean, she did a lot of research, and you know, I mean, everything in the period was right. You know, the conversations were right. You know, the language was right. So you know, I mean, she did a good job. She did a good it not Eat, Love, Pray, but or Eat, Pray, Love, but it It's a good book, and it's The Secret of All Thoughts. What is it called?
The Signature of All Things.
Yeah.
Okay. And then finally, let's turn to The Power of No.
The Power of No. How many times?
My 4-year-old daughter knows that.
And we should learn it, right? A lot of kids know that, and we lose so much of that when we grow up. But how many times have you said no? I said yes to something and regretted it. I mean, you're overcommitted, you know, yes to people hurting you, yes to all of these things, and you could easily have said no. It's the hardest sentence to say, but it's a full sentence, right? No, just as it's yes. So what the authors, husband and wife, are arguing is that if you said no to things that you really do not want to do, how much more time would you have for the yeses? So how much more love and abundance and enjoyment could you have if you truly said no? You know, I mean,
that's tough.
It is very tough. I mean, I'm practicing no because, you know, you realize that you're on a treadmill when you keep saying.
Let me test it out on you. Will you stay for another hour?
Absolutely no.
There you go. See, you can do it. Marva Allen, as always, it's a pleasure.
Thank you.
See you next week.
You too.
That's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for saying yes to Arise America. Say no to turning away. And we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.